The level of determination that has been dedicated to try to ensure that Black Americans do not thrive is not by accident. And that is the reason why Black farmers are being shut out again. While the Trump administration rolls out financial lifelines for white farmers, Black farmers are being left out, overlooked, and pushed closer to extinction. And if it weren't for people like John Boyd Jr. sounding the alarm, this story would stay buried in the soil. Let's talk about history. Black farmers once owned 14% of United States farmland. Today, less than 1.3%. How, Sway? I'll tell you. Generational land theft, discriminatory USDA policies, and a long history of being denied access to the very tools white farmers receive as default. And now, in 2025, the Trump administration is doubling down, offering federal farm credits, subsidies, and contracts almost exclusively to white farmers. And they're doing it in broad daylight. John Boyd Jr. has entered the chat.
My name is John Boyd, founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association.
John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation American farmer, is out here telling the truth.
You need to rise up and speak out now, not later, because if we don't, they're going to continue to take this country down a pathway that is going to take decades to get away from.
He says it clearly. It's not that we don't want to farm, it's that the system doesn't want us to succeed. Let's be clear. This is not about charity. This is about fairness, about access, about survival. The federal numbers don't lie. In 2021, the Trump administration handed out $26 billion in pandemic farm relief. Black farmers received 0.01% of this relief fund. And in 2025, with new rounds of credits going out, the same pattern is repeating. White farmers are getting bailed out. Black farmers are getting boxed out.
I'm looking for $5 billion in debt relief, and I'm asking the Federal Court of Appeals to reverse the decision and grant 17,000 Black and other farmers of color 120% debt relief.
The stakes are higher than food. This isn't just about crop yields or subsidies. This is about land, food justice, generational wealth, and the right to live and work with dignity. Black farmers aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for equal footing. We can't keep letting politicians toss our people aside while offering refuge and resources to others. Not because they're in greater danger, but because they fit a preferred political narrative. If we care about sustainability, food security, or economic justice, we cannot leave Black farmers out of the conversation. Their legacy is American history. Their land is American land, and their fight deserves our full support.
I don't care what they say. I'm not going to stop fighting, and you should not stop fighting in this country.
Peace, y'all.
Trump basically tells Fox News that he regrets busting down on the immigrants and sending them back home because his farmers now need help. And all I can say is I knew he was going to regret this shit because there's no person really working harder than an immigrant due to the simple fact that they're on a mission. They're on a mission. They come to this country just to work. Immigrant is probably the hardest working person you know. Hands down. No ifs or buts about it. And it's just like they was not bothering you. I knew in the end time you were going to need these people to take care of life in America. If you really think about it, who are building these bridges that we drive on? Immigrants. Who are building these houses? Immigrants. Who are cutting the grass? Immigrants. So now that your farmers are in need, you want to double down and say, oh, we're going to bring back the immigrants and make sure they come legally. It's not easy to get rid of them. Well, you try to challenge the situation and it backfired on your ass. Don't bring them back now. You broke up happy homes because you hated immigrants. But now that you're in need and you thought the Black people was going to enslave and help your farmers, which they're not. This is not back in the day. They barely want to fucking work. Don't bring the immigrants back now.
So something, powerful is happening quietly across America's farmland. And while headlines focus on collapsing exports and rising debts, a different story is taking root. And black farmers are coming back, not as laborers on someone else's, land, but as owners, entrepreneurs, and innovators and community builders, rewriting, the script of who feeds the nation. But after decades of losing land through discrimination, bad loans, and broken systems, many black families are returning to agriculture on their own terms. And of course, they're forming cooperatives using social media, to sell directly to customers, and linking with urban food networks that value fairness and culture over profit alone. And of course, these particular farmers are teaching the next generation to treat soil like heritage and something worth defending and, of course, passing on. So, and this is where you find young generations or young farmers experiencing with sustainable methods, growing organic produce, reviving traditional crops, and of course reclaiming ancestral land and that once fed the entire region. And it's not about revenge or rivalry. No. It is about restoration. It's about proving that the American story of farming doesn't belong to one race or one region, but to everyone who tills the soil with hope. And yes, of course, yes, it is. While some of the big industrial farms are struggling under the weight of politics and tariffs, black farmers are quietly building something that is more resilient, rooted in community, cooperation, and of course pride. So me and you, we're going to watch these particular sentiments, reactions, and also sentiments that are made by different people, and of course courtesy to the creators. And then we're going to make our thoughts towards the end of this particular show. As we usually do it here, I'll circle back with my own thoughts and comments over the same after we've just watched. So hang around.
The history of what we've been through in this country as a people, this next video that I'm about to share with y'all, you wouldn't even think that something like this nowadays would even be relevant in today's society and has no place in our present day times. But boy, as always, are we wrong. And then people love to see or say why the wealth gap is so great between blacks and other races in this country. This next video will show you not just how they did it back then, but how they're still doing it, even in 2024. This black farmer and his wife suffered at the hands of racist people that don't want to see them succeed and don't want to see them with the land that they're on, from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Black Wall Street. This has been the legacy of America and its black and brown people in this country.
I'm being arrested.
Early Monday morning, Courtney Mallory was taken into custody. Farming while black in America. The rancher's story, one that's taken over social media.
We don't want to become a hashtag.
Nicole, a Marine, and her husband bought Freedom Acres Ranch in 2020. The couple claiming they face repeated acts of domestic terrorism by white residents on their own property. They say their dogs have been poisoned. Numerous farm animals have been slaughtered and gutted. Residents have been trespassing on their land, running over fence posts, burning their Black Lives Matter flags, spray painting racial slurs on their land, even waving guns at them. Photos show unknown vehicles blocking the couple's property and parking on their land. Even social media posts inquiring about pitchforks and fire sticks.
Lynching us, bringing a lynching mob, having a public hanging, fire. They wanted to lock us in and set us ablaze.
Mallory said they've called the sheriff's office countless times over the last 2 years, but have gotten no action or thorough investigations.
It is in fact El Paso County Sheriff's Office that is the main reason that we do not feel safe on our property.
The sheriff's office says they've investigated 19 different complaints and have responded to over 170 calls for service at Freedom Acres. In a statement, they claim the office vehemently denies all these allegations.
We're watching. The world is watching. Get it right.
Now a coalition pushing for social justice and the couple's safety, including the NAACP.
That's ridiculous. At the end of the day, law enforcement should show up for everyone.
The National Association of Real Estate Brokers.
This is a direct violation of the Fair Housing Act.
and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Courtney was arrested yesterday, charged with stalking, petty theft, and tampering with the utility meter. His wife charged with the same crimes. Now she paid a $2,000 bond and was released. However, Courtney was not.
It looks like a bait switch.
Activists and concerned citizens demanding answers last night, gathering at the detention center, conducting their own welfare check. Courtney appeared before a judge today, and his bond was increased to $6,000 and was paid for by the NAACP. He should be out of jail at this hour. And I actually just received a text. Courtney is in fact out of jail tonight. We've also learned that his neighbor was arrested last year for violating a restraining order that he took out against her. And surprisingly, those same neighbors filed a restraining order this morning against Courtney. There's a lot of ongoing and previous protective orders out at this time between these two neighbors. Of course, this is a story we will continue to follow right here on Fox 31. Erica.
You know, I'm seeing all these videos right now where all these farmers are crying about not getting no help right now. You know what? Let me ask you something. When have you ever heard of a black farmer crying about it? Never. And you want to know why? Because they ain't never got no help in the first place. That's right. USDA's literally admitted to discriminating against black farmers. And literally black farmers had to sue, thousands of them, to get what white farmers are handed for free. And fast forward to today, all these farmers crying that they can't get no help. You see, black farmers, they've been struggling. Y'all just now feeling what they've been feeling for over 100 years. Black farmers, they used to own over 19 million acres of land. But guess what? Systematic racism, denied loans, shady politicians, and legal loopholes wiped them all out. Yeah. And now they're 1% of America's farmland. When the government finally tried to pass relief for the black folk back in 2021, white farmers sued to block it, claimed it was reverse discrimination. Make that make sense. So, you know, next time you see folks complaining about farm aid, why don't you ask them, where's the help for the black farmers? Ask them why their struggle is just now important when others have been suffering for centuries. You know, I'm seeing all these videos right now where all these farmers are crying about not getting no help right now. You know what? Let me ask you something. When have you ever heard of a black farmer crying about it? Never. And you want to know why? Because they ain't never got no help in the first place. That's right. USDA's literally admitted to discriminating against black farmers. And literally black farmers had to sue, thousands of them, to get what white farmers are handed for free. And fast forward to today, all these farmers crying that they can't get no help. You see, black farmers, they've been struggling. Y'all just now feeling what they've been feeling for over 100 years. Black farmers, they used to own over 19 million acres of land. But guess what? Systematic racism, denied loans, shady politicians, and legal loopholes wiped them all out. Yeah. And now they're 1% of America's farmland. When the government finally tried to pass relief for the black folk back in 2021, white farmers sued to block it, claimed it was reverse discrimination. Make that make sense. So, you know, next time you see folks complaining about farm aid, Why don't you ask them, where's the help for the black farmers? Ask them why their struggle is just now important when others have been suffering for centuries.
Hey, you know, one more thing about that farm thing. Those farmers complaining about how the Trump's trade war is hurting farms. And not just China, even though China no longer buys U.S. beef, that's gone to Brazil. They no longer buy U.S. soybeans. They don't buy a bunch of other agricultural products from us because they can source them elsewhere. And these farmers are all over these apps whining and crying that they didn't think it would hurt them. And please, Mr. Trump, I voted for you 3 times, and all this kind of bootlicking kind of BS. The other thing about that is, like I said in my other video, excuse me, there's a particular relationship, black people and farms in this country, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The other thing is, do you remember during the Biden-Harris administration, their administration worked out a settlement with black farmers to pay them back pay for excluding them from bailout money that they were entitled to. The money only went to white farmers, and so black farmers, that's the way it is in this country, had to sue to get their fair share. And after years of court wrangling in the courts and everything, it was finally settled and black farmers were going to get their due. Sorry, my allergies. And you know why they didn't get their due? Sorry about that. Because white farmers sued to block the government settlement that they had made with black farmers. And white farmers sued saying that the white farmers, were being discriminated against for not getting some of the black settlement money. The black settlement money was because only white farmers got some of the initial bailout money, not black farmers. That's how twisted it is. So to the white farmers online whining about loss of business, threats to having their farms shut down and shut off, I say, fare thee well, good sirs. Fare thee well. You got what you got. You get what you get. You don't pitch a fit. You voted for Donald Trump, and you know what? He is working you over because the big conglomerates, some I hear I've read are owned by J.D. Vance or his companies, are about to buy up your land for pennies on the dollar. And you're going to be one picking those blueberries for $11 an hour, 7 days a week, for 10 hours a day. Literally, how you like them apples?
Hold on, so let me get this straight. The white farmers in Louisiana, they're mad because people of color won't come work on their farms for $11 an hour in 100-degree heat for 10 plus hours a day. Let me run that back. White farmers are mad. The very farmers that voted Republican, okay, they voted for this, are mad that people of color won't come work on their farms for $11 an hour in 100-degree heat for 10 plus hours a day. I'm saying you get what you ask for. Hey, it's FAFO type shit, okay? But hey, don't be fooled. I feel like it's gonna come to a point where they're finna make people get on their farms. Don't count me to it. Because if 2025 was a checklist, hey.
We must talk about this. We have to talk about the status of the farmers. Yep, the farmers. That overwhelmingly, the white farmers that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. Now, the farmers are asking for welfare from the government because a lot of them are losing their farms because the subsidies that they get from the government, they can't afford the farms without the subsidies in many cases. And they're like, look, we need help. But here's the difference. When the black farmers asked for help, the white farmers filed a lawsuit. They filed a lawsuit against the black farmers for asking for assistance from the federal government. And they weren't able to receive the assistance from the government because of the white farmers filing the lawsuit. Question is, do you think farmers, white farmers, should receive the help, the same help that the black farmers had asked for, and they filed a lawsuit? Should the black farmers do the same thing and file a lawsuit? Get in the comments. Let me know.
In conclusion, and this is of course a new chapter of the American agriculture, not the end, but the return. And a moment built on legacy, lifted by innovation, and powered by the belief that ownership is the truest form of freedom. So as the old adage or saying goes, that the system bends and breaks, a new harvest is rising, grown by the very hands that history tried to erase. This time, they're not asking for a seat at the table, they're creating their own. And it's about this one, guys. If you just joined us, it's your first time, how about a like, a thumbs up, and a subscription? That will mean that you are a part and parcel of this particular bigger family as we're moving forward. And for my returning viewers, a very big thank you. You guys, you've been there all through up to this particular very moment. I need to say thank you and stay put. See you in the next one.